Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the West Business Development Center. My name is Kelly Geiser, and I'm the event coordinator here at West, hosting today's webinar, Credit Repair. West is a nonprofit funded by the federal SBA, the Small Business Administration Program. We are both a women's business center and small business development center for Mendocino and Lake County. Through federal and state agencies matched with local community contributions, it is your tax dollars that allow us to provide our services to you for free. These services include one-on-one counseling, webinars, loan package readiness, and advising to small business owners and entrepreneurs at every stage of business development. We also have a pool of expert advisors that cover niche business needs from permitting to HR and e-commerce. If you'd like to become a client and learn more about the West Center, please visit our website or give our office a call. Just a quick disclaimer that today's webinar is for informational and educational purposes only. You can read this disclaimer in more detail on our website. And without further ado, I am pleased to introduce Joe Rodola, your instructor on credit repair today.
Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. Welcome, everybody, to our afternoon session here. We're talking about credit. As you can see from my instructor bio, I've been around a couple of days. I've been in the credit industry coming on 50 years real fast. So hopefully the information that I'm able to pass on to you today will be helpful to you in making sure that you have the best possible credit score available, which will then offer you the best interest rates when you go to borrow money. So welcome to Tracking and Controlling Credit, why, how, and when. This is what we're going to cover today. Obtaining and understanding your credit score, obtaining credit reports and how to do that. Connect with advisor at the end, obviously, and start repairing your credit, which you can do actually as soon as when you're done with today's information on the webinar. So the first steps. Credit is one of the most important things we don't really care about until we need to, right? That kind of reminded me of the old days when I had a report that I had getting my grades at the end of the quarter, right? So you get a report card. Boy, all of a sudden the last 2 weeks before report card time, I'd get a little worried. It's a little late to worry about it, but you get the idea. So a credit report's very similar. Sometimes we wait too long to figure out whether or not we're in good shape or not. So before you fall behind or get into a situation that could be scary, and let's face it, this day and age with the economy, gas prices, food prices, inflation, all the things going on, watching our money is becoming more and more important than ever. So the best thing to do, if you don't already have a real solid budget plan on your computer, or even if you do it by paper, is to make a list of all the loans and credit card companies you owe to, and how much you owe to each, what the due dates are for each of those items, those credit cards or loans, and how much the payment is. I always like to suggest that you rank these from the smallest balance owed to the biggest. Okay, so smallest on top, biggest on the bottom. Okay, don't care about interest rates too much at this point, just do it by dollar owed. Okay. Research your statements or online to find phone numbers for each company. So in other words, if you have a Citibank card, or if you have a Chase, or if you have a Capital One, have on that tracking page that you've made or Excel sheet, the phone number contacts for each of those companies. And each company has a department besides customer service, right? You got customer service numbers, but they'll have a disaster number. And a disaster could be anything from what we experienced during COVID, when our offices and businesses were closed, to just having, an illness, an injury, a family emergency, heaven forbid, but a divorce, all these things will affect credit many times, okay? So if you have this information at hand, you don't have to run around trying to figure out who to contact, all right? If you're in a situation where you think you're not going to be able to make that next month's payment for any reason, contact that number, ask for their, their disaster or hardship contact number. They'll send you over there. They each have one. Tell them your situation. Maybe just deferring a payment for a month will be enough. And I remember during COVID and even at other times, for instance, there's a credit union that we deal with up here in Shasta County. By the way, I'm calling you today from Shasta County up north a little bit. I did, however, used to work in Ukiah, Clear Lake, Lakeport, and worked for Bank of America in those areas. Now Bank of America, I'm afraid, is no longer around, is it? For the most part. So I know your area very, very well, okay? So anyway, contact those people, let them know you got a situation, and you'll probably be able to get a month deferral without a problem if you've been there for a while. If you just got the account, of course, it'll be difficult. They'll still charge you interest, there's no doubt about that. But when you're in a situation where you're short money to perform, you don't want to go late. Late notices is what creates an immediate attack on your credit score, right? That drops fast. If you get a deferral, doesn't report, doesn't go against the report. So it's very, very cool. Figure out which accounts will give you the best relief if you had a choice. So in other words, if you owed $100 on a Kohl's card, $100 on a Kohl's card, but you owed $5,000 on a Visa, maybe by deferring the Visa payment for a month at $125 minimum payment, be a heck of a lot easier than calling Kohl's and having them defer the $20 one, right? See where I'm going? So use the biggest balances first to get that relief, or what we like to call the biggest bang for the buck, okay? They will charge interest, obviously, on the accounts. This is a short-term fix, but it can come in real handy. It came in handy during COVID, and this credit union, like I say, offers Christmas skip-a payments almost every year to us. We don't always take them up on it, but they'll offer a skip a month with a car payment that's approved. So it saves you the car payment in December. It's interesting things that are available. If auto payments are on the account, in other words, if you automatically have the money coming out of your checking account and it's put through online at their website, if you're going to make changes or you run into troubles, make sure to remove that before the payment comes out, because they'll just continue to automatically pull it if you don't. And remember, when you get to change your budget when you start up payments again. So if you get into a situation where you have to skip, make sure that the money's there for that following month so you do not fall behind. And again, these are all steps to take into consideration before something goes bad. Okay, understanding the credit score. The credit score is a number given to each of us by our Social Security numbers that indicates our credit risk. Our credit risk. So in other words, if you miss payments, if you're late on payments, if you forgot to pay a bill and it goes to collection, if you owe the IRS, you haven't contacted them yet, and they're starting to go after you, all those events lower your score, okay? Another one that a lot of people don't realize is if you owe a lot of money on your credit cards, normally over 50% or more on the limit. So if the limit was $5,000, you owe $2,700. Every dollar above 50%, the credit score will probably drop, because that means you have less availability and you're needing to use credit to survive. Credit cards were originally invented in the 50s as an emergency short-term fix. Unfortunately, in this day and age, with the average credit card debt somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000 nationwide per family, 8 to 10 credit cards, it's used more for emergency backup, and then I'll make the monthly payments. Hopefully I can pay it off someday. So things have twisted, haven't they? So your credit card company that you currently have may offer a score tracker. I know I have a Citibank card, for instance, and my Citibank card allows me to track my score for free through their website and app. Okay, send me an email, boom, I can check it out, make sure what's going on. We'll tell you in a minute what a good and a bad score is, but suffice it to say, higher is better. Okay, higher the score is better. Credit protection companies, if you belong to Legal Shield or some of these other companies that offer you assistance on a prescription basis, they may be able to offer you a free credit score and credit checks as well. If not, creditkarma.com, as listed there, creditkarma with a K.com, offers a free score. Now, the FICO score, FICO, Fair Isaac Credit, is a little bit different than the Credit Karma score, but it's close, okay? If you've ever tried to look up your house value on Zillow, you'll notice you get a house value on that particular site, you get it for free. That's not an appraisal, is it? No, it's an approximation on Zillow. Credit Karma here is not the FICO score, but again, it's pretty close. It's the representation, okay? The main thing you want to do is watch upward and downward trends. Upward, you get to, have a little coffee or a little drink, have a beer. If it's going down, you got to get a little nervous, trying to figure out why it's happening, okay? You don't want it to go down. Key issues. So how is the score derived? Well, here you go. The score, the FICO score, which is what most banks, financial institutions use, is 30% of the score is based on what you owe to the limit. To the limit, because we have a $5,000 limit, you owe $100, that's good. $5,000 limit, you owe $4,999, that's not as good, okay? How old is the credit? 10%. How long have you had credit in general? 15%. So in other words, the longer, the better. 10% is types of credit used. Okay, if you use check cashing facilities, for instance, with super high interest rates, some of the interest rates on some of those are as high as 400% APR, believe it or not, it's crazy. But the types of credit can have an effect. And of course, 35% is, have you made your payments on time? So if you keep your balances low, if you pay your payments on time, 65%, these two columns, the little light green and the dark blue here, that runs 65% of the score, doesn't it? It is a little tougher for a 22-year-old person to have a high credit score than it is an 80-year-old person that kept their nose clean. See, it just depends on how many pieces of credit, how long you've had them, and how you've used it. All right, so what's a good score? Here you go. I kind of put it in the vernacular of a golf game. I happen to play golf, not very well, but I like to get out there and bang the ball around every once in a while. So a 300 to a 629, we call that subpar range, okay? Or bogey, if you want to call it what it is, right? Harder to borrow money in the 300 to 629 range, guaranteed. Tough, okay? Tough. 630 to 689 is about par, okay? That's average throughout the United States. The closer to 689, the easier it is. At 630, you might be able to get credit, but you're going to pay more for it. Higher interest rate, higher fees. 690 to 719, I like to call that above par, okay? That's a score that the banks and financial institutions love. Means you made your payments on time, keep your balances low, and you've had accounts for a long time, okay? And then 720 to 850, 850 being the top end, that's a birdie, okay? That's a birdie or an eagle. If you're in the 800s, we'll call that an eagle, okay? What that means is you're gold plated, okay? You've been around a long time, you have controlled your credit, you have always made your payments on time, and you don't owe much on the balances on your credit cards. You may have a car loan, a house loan, maybe even a personal loan of some kind, but your credit card balances are kept at bay. 720 to 850. I was a banker for 25 years. I can tell you, when this person comes in and I saw the 800 number pop up on a score, I had one less thing I had to worry about in making that loan for the client, right? It was one positive in the plus column. Okay, remember, credit scores, they're free. Don't pay for a score. Okay, Credit Karma is free. If you got the option of using your credit card company to offer you a free credit score monitoring, do it. It's worth it. It's worth it. Okay. We talked about the score factors, what it takes and how it affects your score. And we talked about good and bad scores, didn't we? So at this moment, do we have any questions?
I don't see any in the Q&A nor the chat.
All right, very good. So far, so good. Remember that your credit report is a little different than your credit score. Technically, if you want to be technical, without a credit report, you can't have a score. They go together. Okay, they go together. One makes up the other. Okay, because each credit report item, which are listed separately, you know, if you had a Chevron, a Shell, a BP gas card, that's 3 different accounts. Okay, if you had a Visa, MasterCharge, American Express, and Discover, that'd be 4 different accounts. They're all listed separate, okay, on the credit report. Normally, when you pull the credit report, it doesn't give you the score. So the combination of this website I'm about to give you plus Credit Karma gives you the combined package of score and report, okay? And you can get them for free on the report. How do you do that? Well, here we go. And remember, you're going to be getting these slides and you're going to be getting this information to be able to rewatch it anytime you want down the road. It's being taped. Annualcreditreport.com. This is was about, shoot, it's been what, 20? If I'm going to guess about 20 years ago, seems like forever ago. The government, the United States, said there were so many mistakes on credit reports that we as individuals should be able to look at what's on our reports once per calendar year for all 3 agencies. And as you can see on the slide, it lists those agencies: Equifax, Equifax, however you want to pronounce it, Experian, and TransUnion. Experian was the original report back in the early 70s when I started in the banking industry. We had TRW, trans whatever it was, okay? TRW. Experian is what TRW was. TRW turned into Experian. Then Equifax, and TransUnion, they started too. So now we have 3 national reporting agencies. They don't all report, unfortunately, the same stuff. The way it is. That's why many of us, including myself, have 3 scores, a little different on each. The reason being is the TransUnion credit report was originally really set up for real estate loans. The Equifax was really set up for car loans, auto industry. And Experian was the old TRW, which supposedly had more than any of the other credit reports, see? So it's the one that supposedly has the most stuff on it, the most items. But once per calendar year, January through December, you can pull 1, 2, or 3 reports anytime during that year, and then the following year it'll start all over again. So you go to annualcreditreport.com. This is basically what the main screen looks like. You go down here to the bottom, request your credit report, and you hit it. Takes you to this 3-step page here, 3 steps to your credit reports. You fill out the form, you pick the report you want, request and review your report online or print it. I like to suggest, especially if you want our help in assisting in identifying weaknesses and how to raise your score, to go ahead and copy it to your desktop in the form of a PDF document, okay? So on this page, what do you hit? Well, request your credit report. There you go, boom, hit that button. You'll need to have this information. Some people get a little queasy because you notice you have to give them the Social Security number. This is a certified safe website. You know, hopefully make sure that your internet connection is either VPN or has as many assistants, whether you use Norton or any of the other companies to assist in not letting people, you know, get your information off your internet, off your computer. But you do have to give them name, date of birth, Social Security, your current address, previous address if less than 2 years. You select the report, 1 or 3. Verify it's you by asking some credit questions off the report. So give you an idea. If I was to go in today and try to get my report, they may say, do you have a car loan at one of the following institutions? And they'll say, you know, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Golden One, you know, or, you know, whatever. And I'd have to say, because mine's a Golden One, I'd say Golden One, see? So they know that I know that Golden One's where my car loan is. So they do that, press the button, and it takes you to this page, which is the one that starts listing the details. So you hit that print your report button, okay? You can print it out if you want. I mean, some of these reports, I had a guy the other day, his report was 45 pages long. May not want to print it, right? A lot easier just to save it to your computer, and then you can check it anytime you want, right? So that's what most people do. Put it on their desktop or computer, save it as a PDF, and then you can go back and check it, okay? So what does it list? It lists the accounts. In this particular Experian report, as you can see, we covered up all the names to protect the innocent, but suffice it to say, it says that this Experian report has 23 accounts listed, no public records, zero. That's good. Okay, that's good. That means you don't have collections or lawsuits you lost, you owe money to people. Those aren't on there. That's good. And 5 hard inquiries. So what's an inquiry? Inquiries can affect your score if you have too many. And an inquiry is, if you go to a store, give you an example around Christmas time at Macy's. Undoubtedly, if we're buying something at Macy's, the cashier will say, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 20% off all you're buying today if you apply for our card, right? And you say yes, and you go in and sign the application, that's a hard inquiry, okay? You don't want more than 6 of those in a given year. I like to say 6 months. There's no need to go after 6 cards in 6 months anyway, okay? Be careful of card shopping. Be real careful. Sometimes card shopping where you're transferring your balance over to a 0% credit card for a year or something may not always be the best deal to do, okay? Because as soon as you get the 6 hard inquiries, you could have a 10-point drop in your score. People say, why? Why? Because it looks like you need credit. You're applying for a bunch of cards. That's why. See, once you start applying for a lot of cards, it freaks them out in the lending area, okay? So not always a good thing. All right. Identify quick fixes, score impact. Okay, here we go. And these again are all the things that affect your score, right? Length of time you had to credit. I had a gentleman come in the other day, had a score of about 610. And the reason was all his credit was less than 6 months old. He had 4 accounts or something, but they're all new. Nothing you can do about that. Before that, he paid cash for everything. You got to be careful on paying cash for everything. That also means, or can be as bad as, poor credit. See? So, and I've had problems with that issue before as well. So length of time of credit, how you're using the cards, what your balances are, okay? What credit left you have available. The best rule of thumb is never run them above 50% of the limit. If you cannot run them above 50% of the limit, you're in pretty good shape, okay? And obviously avoid negative items. And here are some of them: late payments, 30 days or more, collections because you didn't pay the doctor bill, foreclosures, you had to, give up the house, repossessions, you had to give up the car, and of course, filing bankruptcy. Filing bankruptcy will last or follow you for a minimum of 7 years, most of the time 10. And that'll be 10 years from the date of the discharge of the bankruptcy, not the beginning. Sometimes it takes about a year to file BK, right? Bankruptcy, from the beginning to end. So it's 10 years from the end when the bankruptcy is discharged before it, falls off. However, a little side note, if a person has to file for bankruptcy, my brother did this in 2010, by the way. 2010, obviously, it was a very bad year for a lot of people. The real estate market crashed, so it was a difficult scenario for everybody. So he filed bankruptcy, also had $100,000 in unpaid medical bills. Tough. So he went ahead and filed bankruptcy. He's 55 years old, filed bankruptcy, and start over. Credit, obviously, the score dived. It goes down about 510, 520. So, difficulty borrowing any money. And if you did have to buy a car, heaven forbid, it would have been at a high interest rate. But here's the deal. A lot of people say, well, I can't get any credit for 7 years. After 2 years, after the bankruptcy was discharged, he went online to Capital One and was able to get a credit card, starter card, $500 limit on a Visa 2 years after, so he could start rebuilding credit. Within 5 years of the bankruptcy, he went from a 520 to a 690 credit score, okay? By inching his way along through the credit river and finding his way to make sure that the credit was improving his score. And obviously he'd call me every once in a while for advice, undoubtedly, okay? So anyway, so that's how that works, okay? Let's talk about some easy fixes real quick. The forgotten doctor bill. This actually happened to my wife and I. We moved from Ukiah to Rohnert Park, which is near Santa Rosa. We call that along the 101 corridor, right? Northern California. And so we moved from Ukiah down there and we put the transfer bill thing so that the mail would all go to our new address, right? Well, unfortunately, a dentist bill didn't make it. So one of our dentists, had like $40 left over after insurance was said and done, sent us a bill for $40. I didn't see it, or we didn't get it. And so all of a sudden we get a collection notice saying you're going to send it to collection and you don't pay my $40, see? So what you want to do is call that debt immediately, especially if it's a doctor. Tell them what's going on, okay? Ask for their forgiveness. Tell them you're going to make the payment as soon as possible, especially if it's small. Pay it right away. And ask them to make sure that they don't either put it on the report or remove it from the report. I've had people have success in asking and having them removed, especially if you have to, you tell them you're buying a house or starting a business. You really need to borrow money. Neat way if they'll do it. Tell them, I'm sorry, I moved. In my case, we moved. We put the forwarding address through the mail, but we didn't get the bill. So I'm very sorry, we paid it off. And they, of course, removed it immediately. We also had been a client of theirs for like 10 years. So they had a history with us before. Obviously, if you just started with the company and you started missing payments immediately, they probably would not be very helpful in removing that ding on the credit. But you get the idea. Asking is free. Might as well give it a shot, Late car payment, going from paychecks every 2 weeks to monthly. A lot of times, Thursday. Sorry about that. A client looking through the window there. Sorry about that. So late car payment. Let's say you were getting a payment every 2 weeks and you're not going to get a monthly check. That's going to be a problem because you usually are making your payments, say, on the 15th. Now you're not going to be able to make payments till the 31st. What you do there is immediately contact the company that's got the loan or the credit card and ask them for a date change, okay? A due date change. You obviously can't do this like every month, okay? And they normally won't let you do it more than once in 6 months. But I'll tell you what, they'll do it, okay? And that saves you from showing late on their reports and getting phone calls and, bad emails or whatever else. So don't forget, if you have a change in your payment coming into you, your income flow, and the pay dates are off for you, make sure to ask for a change of due date. Unbalanced credit card debt. This is kind of an interesting little thing. It's kind of it's not really smoke and mirrors, but it's legal. So let's say you have $9,500, so $9,500 outstanding on a $10,000 limit on one card. In other words, that card's almost maxed. And you have another card with zero balance, right? Take and transfer 5,000 or 6,000 from this card to the other card. Okay, a lot of companies allow transfers. Okay, transfers. Contact the company to find out how to go about doing it. Okay, and transfer that debt over to the new card. So you owe the same amount, but it's split 50-50 with two cards so that your limit to balance owed drops. See? Tricks, little tricks of the trade. Again, don't want to do this often, but I'll tell you what, it sure can come in handy. You wonder why your score is dropping. It's because one of your card limits, balances is going up to limit. So you can transfer a little bit over another card, boom, no more problem. Too many cards. I call this getting rid of old wood. Okay, getting rid of old wood. So, well, my wife and I did this we did a credit card attack 20 years ago. And the credit card attack was to pay off credit cards without having outside assistance. We used something called the Focus Plan. That was the book we read called it Focus. David Ramsey, Susie Orman, some of those credit gurus you see on TV, infomercials in the middle of the night. They'll call it Snowball. They'll call it Focus. They'll call it Compound. Anyway you look at it, what you're doing is you're paying off debt one card at a time, putting emphasis on that card that you're trying to pay off. Everybody else gets minimum payment till that card's gone. The card you're trying to get rid of never gets minimum payment, always gets every extra dollar you can muster. You know, checks for your birthday from mom, overtime, gee whiz, you found a $5 bill in the street, you know, whatever it is. You go and sell stuff at a garage sale, boom, that's how to do it. Okay, pay them off one at a time, credit score goes up. What we did was we had Sears and Penny's and Macy's and Chevron and Shell and, you know, we had all those store cards. And store cards, unfortunately, for the most part, are used only at that store, okay? A real Shell card without a Visa MasterCard logo is to buy Shell gas, that's it. And maybe something at the little convenience store, which is even worse. I always like to say that if you buy a ham sandwich at the convenience Shell store in the gas station and you pay the minimum payment, you'll pay for that ham sandwich for 25 years. That tells you something. Anyway, we got rid of all those cards. We paid them off one by one and we asked them to close them. We kept 4 cards, right? Which is the best to do is have at least 4 accounts. Those 4 accounts had the oldest record. We had a Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, 4 cards. They're all multi-usable. Most of the time, any or all of those 4 cards can be used for gas, clothes, heck, even food, right? So multi-use cards, we kept 4 and got rid of the Sears and the Shell and the Chevron and the, you know, BP and the, you know, because when you started adding up $20 here, $40 payment there, $60 there, $100 there, $75 there, well, I'll tell you what, wipes you right out. You know, it's nickel and diming you to death. So, and there's nothing wrong with you closing out those cards. You just send them a letter saying, gee, thanks, Chevron. Thank you for all the years I've had you. Tired of paying 30 years for my ham sandwich. No, but you get, you know, you get the idea. Thank you very much. Please close the account. Send me a letter that just been closed. We've torn up the card and thank you, mail it out. Okay, mail it out. or you can do it maybe online. Some of the companies now, you can actually close your accounts out online. 30 days, make sure they shut the dang thing down. Make sure it's not on your credit report anymore. And since you only need 4 good positive pieces of credit on your report, if you had a car loan, a house loan, and 2 credit cards, you got her made. That's going to be the best credit score you could ever. You can get 800 with 4 accounts. No problem. No problem. Errors, okay? Incorrect addresses, cards you didn't apply for. We had a situation that popped up in January one year, about 10 years ago. And we went on to annualcreditreport.com. My wife pulled her January Experian to do an audit, okay? Do an audit. And she sees a Macy's card on there. And she goes, I don't have a Macy's card. Where do I have a Macy's card? I got rid of the Macy's card years ago. I don't want Macy's on there. So she showed it to me. We looked at it, looked kind of weird. It was a $500 Macy's card, brand new. Attached to her social security number. Obviously, it wouldn't be on a report. So we started by contacting Macy's. You could also go through and dispute the item through the credit bureau. But we didn't have to do that because we were able to call and contact the Macy's and find out what happened. In this particular case, some person in Fresno went ahead and went into the Macy's and signed up for a credit card in December. And for some reason or another, the credit card numbers got switched during input, so that the card, the social security number matched my wife's social security number, not the guy. So he got the card. My wife's got good credit. He didn't know, because he got the card in the mail saying, hey, Jeff, here's your card, man. You're good as gold. So we said, no, we're not in Fresno. And no, we don't know this Jeff guy. So then they checked the number. Sure enough, somebody input social security number wrong. They input it with my wife's social security number instead of his. They went ahead and corrected it, sent me a letter in the mail saying they fixed it. We checked it another month. It was repaired. Okay. Don't let accounts show up on the report and leave them there. Even though this was a positive new account, you don't want to take chances that your guy that accidentally ended up getting a card under the wrong number starts going bad on your credit. Well, they won't know. It's attached to your social security number, right? So your social security number is what reports. So if they think you're that guy, your score is going to go down. See? So that's the whole idea. So watch for errors when you do your credit checks through Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Stuff that's harder to fix. And there are some things that are difficult to repair, period. A late pay because you didn't make a payment. And a late pay normally does not report till 30 days or more past due. So normally you get a statement or a notification in the mail or email 2 weeks prior to your due date, letting you know it's due. 30 days after that due date, you don't make the payment, normally they report, okay? If they do, and it's your mistake, it might be difficult. You can try, but it might be difficult to get them to remove it. Just saying, okay, just saying. So that'll take time. Time is the healer. My brother's bankruptcy, time. Every month he didn't have a problem after the bankruptcy was discharged, the score went up a little bit. See? Child support missed payments. Can't do anything about that because you got to pay them up, period. Okay? IRS debt. You can't even bankrupt out of IRS debt. Okay, you're going to owe that forever. Just remember that the IRS very easily will set up pay plans with you. And it's not like they're going to want, 100 million a month, okay? They're going to do it based on what you can afford and your budget. We had a year where my wife made a bunch of money in real estate. I think it was 05, 06. And we ended up owing a lot more than we had anticipated at the end of the year, like $6,000 worth. So our bill for April would have been $6,000. We didn't have it. So we sent in what we could, and the difference we ended up putting on a pay plan with the IRS. They do it all the time, all the time. And we paid it off, I don't know, about 5 years later. So about 2010, it was gone. But you can do that. Just don't hide from the IRS. Otherwise, they're going to go after your bank account. They're going to have to go after your payroll, paycheck. Okay. They can do that. They can lean against the account. They could lean against the paycheck. Okay. You don't want them to do that. So set up a pay plan. It's much better for you. Okay. All right, so there we go. Identifying quick fixes, pay off old bills, rebalance credit card usage. If you got room on another card, may want to transfer. Fix errors if there are any. Set up pay plans with the IRS and make sure that student loans, whatever it is, you start making payments once those student loans stop deferring. You got to do it. It's just part of the game. Okay. Just got to do it. Okay. And most of the time, like I say, they're going to be fairly reasonable on a payment plan. As long as you can show them a budget, your house payment or your rent and your lights and your car and your gas. Once you start adding all that up, there's not a ton left anyway, right? So make sure you're accurate, make sure you don't fib, and they'll listen to you. They will listen to you, especially at that department within the company that's called a disaster or there's a division in the company that'll have that kind of a department, okay? Emergency department. All right, how are we doing? Are we doing okay?
Yeah, I think we're doing great.
I don't see anything. How about that?
Well, while we're waiting for any questions, I'm going to be launching the poll for that feedback I asked everyone about earlier.
Yeah, there's that's the one. And please fill that out. We, again, offer all our webinars at no charge, but we do need your help, okay? We do need your help in filling out polls and letting us know how we did. This particular webinar has been around for several years, changed a little during COVID, but it still has meaning. It always holds true. And now with inflation, obviously, holds true more than we'd like. But we did cover obtaining and understanding score, credit reports, and start repair. There's the survey we're asking you about right now. And look at that. We have SBDC offices throughout California. Okay. And we're all, and the United States, really. So if you're outside the area, outside the state, boom, we can help you there too. But here's our group in our wonderful state of California.
These are the women's business centers.
Well, those are the
one more slide over will be the SBDCs.
Yeah, our women's business center here is out of Mount Shasta, right across the street from us here in Reading is their head office for JEDI #1. Good group of people, I'll tell you. And of course, Mendocino #2 is right there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the regional centers again from various areas. and West, which is the cool group.
At
Two
least on the
locations,
coast. At
Fort
least,
Bragg, Ukiah, and now we got Lakeport too, I think. Yeah,
yes, we do. Lake County, we have an office out.
Lake County.
Mhm.
Fantastic group of people.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Joe. Today was such a wonderful webinar.
Thank you.
Always good pointers to remember how to help build up your credit. And to everyone else, thank you so much for participating, attending, and filling out that poll. We appreciate it. We appreciate you. And if you enjoyed this webinar, please check out our website for our upcoming ones. We have a lot of jam-packed September and October schedule. So please check it out. And I hope to see you all at the next one. I hope everyone has a great day.
Take care, everybody. Thank you very much.